This is TWiT.
So there's a phone here, and it's just like laying there, all lifeless, and it wants to be talked about.
Let me slide it in. Ready?
Okay.
Let me get our magic trick here.
Oh,
look at that.
That's fancy.
This is the.
That belongs on YouTube.
This is the iPhone XS Max. Now, from the back here, you can't really, perspective-wise, you can't tell. It just looks like the iPhone X, right?
Yeah.
Except for the different color,
right.
Gold. But watch this.
Is that
Ready?
gold?
Yeah, this is the gold.
Like grayish.
What? Excuse me?
Sorry.
No. No, you can really see the gold.
I opened my mouth again. I apologize.
You can see the gold around the edges here.
Okay,
That's where you can really see it.
Yeah.
And especially, well, it's tough to tell on TV, to be honest.
Yeah.
But here in person, you can see. And then if I flip this over here, look at that. That's usually what Apple shows when they flip.
Yes.
That looks like it's right out of an Apple ad, right? Now let's bring it to there we go.
Okay.
So
although that other screen did show the notch.
Well,
pretty
see,
impressively.
you picked up on that. So
Yeah,
if you look at their wallpaper, and I don't think anyone's mentioned this before. If you look at their
Deep
wallpaper,
insights.
you can see that they did not show the notch. And this is what I love about Apple. They are so tricky like this, right?
I mean, it's hard to see in this camera, but I mean it just
you know there was a designer somewhere that was just nudging over pixel by pixel until it was exactly right there.
How much more of the planet can we get into the shot before touching the notch?
So you think that's a planet? Is that what that is?
I'm assuming it's a planet.
See, I didn't know. I thought so. They did on the Apple Watch. They did those weird they actually filmed like liquid, like vapor and metal and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be.
I don't know. It's a bubble. It's a bubble?
See, it's
it a bubble?
debatable.
Oh, it might be a bubble, like an
it
oily bubble.
Could be an oily bubble. Oh, because it moves. Oh, look at that. Can I do that on here? I have to lock it to do that? Yeah. Okay, let's see.
Oh,
see?
my goodness. What did I take before the show?
When was the last time a planet did that?
It gives me a weird feeling.
These are the little tricks that Apple. That's why you pay $1,500 for this.
Okay, so it's not a planet. Obviously, it's an acid trip. So, all right. So
okay, so let's talk about this. So this is the iPhone XS Max. Obviously, you know the pricing starts at basically $1,100, right? That's for the 64 gig. Better value, $256. You get a lot more for that price. Then you have the 512. This is actually the 512. So this is a $1,450 device in your hands right now.
What?
And if you add the case,
better not drop it like I normally do.
How much is this case? $50?
Probably.
So that's what, $1,500 right there. And then let's add the Note 9, and now you're looking at $2,000 worth of devices. And then let's add a bottle of water. So now,
see, this is you make the best connections when reviewing technology.
So you can get 2,000 bottles of water, which would last you, what, 3 years if you had one a day?
I have no idea.
Or you can get 2 phones. Anyway, so this is the device. It is beautiful. There's no denying that Apple has created a beautiful device. The camera is the big thing. So if you look at the screen, it looks good. This size, I think, is perfect for if you had the iPhone X and you thought that the screen was a little bit small, because it was a great device, but a lot of people still like the bigger screen. That's why the plus size phones were so popular.
So this is, here, I'll pop it out of the case.
So this size screen has never...
Pretty dirty, actually.
This sort of full-size screen has never been done on a device before. Oh, well, okay. So it's never really been done well on a device before. So your screen almost takes up the entire front of the device, right?
Yeah, not quite. I mean, the next Pixel probably will about as much, although...
It's kind of funny, because I always thought the Pixel was big, but this is kind of almost the same size.
Yeah, they're really about the same size. I mean, if you...
And here's the 7 Plus. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much identical size.
I did not realize how much heavier. There's a lot more heft. This is the 7 Plus, and this is, you can see that it's identical, almost identical in size.
Yeah. But
so
man,
it's actually a little bit thicker.
The huge difference in the screen real estate that you get.
Yeah, you get a lot more screen in there. And so
hard to go back.
If you look at this on the back, you've got this bump is actually a little bit bigger than before. So it's tough to tell, but you can kind of see.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit thicker. So some people are saying that some of their cases are fitting, other cases are not fitting.
Oh,
and you can, let's see, can we get a little reflection in there? No. thing. So let me show you some of the pictures that I've taken because I know they'll reproduce perfectly on here.
Yeah.
But here
we'll
is
see all the detail.
But this is actually quite a good example of a picture that would be challenging for many cameras.
Yeah.
Because here, let's get it so you can see a little bit better there. There you go. So this is, you see the sun back there, and you see the plane here, and you see it's all kind of shadowed out, but you are still getting a pretty fair amount of contrast. Now, I know you're a pixel guy, so you're used to this kind of level of, where the pixel has always been taking a bunch of pictures at once and merging that data.
Yeah.
But this is kind of the first time that Apple's doing this in a big way. They were doing HDR before, but this is now, they're taking a lot of different signals from many frames and merging it.
Yeah, so many cameras on so many phones that I've used would, on this shot, be completely thrown off by the blooming sun in the background, and everything else would be just dead dark.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it would confuse everything. So the fact that you're getting any detail, and I feel like you get more detail out of this than it's actually showing on the camera.
Yeah.
It's capturing it. I see more detail here. That's actually a pretty good shot considering the circumstances.
And even just seeing the detail on the plane, like you're still seeing a lot. Like I will say, after having used the iPhone 10 for the last year, I think that the camera on this, just looking at it, it definitely has that sort of pixely quality where you know how the pixel, when you take a picture, it really pops, like you get that, it's like very crisp looking.
Yeah.
iPhone, I think, has been really good, but it hasn't had that pixel quality where you just look and it looks very clear. This, I'm noticing, I do find that. So here's another example of this was, don't try this at home, kids. I stopped on the side of the freeway on the way over here to get this. So I thought this was a great shot. Now this is a shot at twilight. So any phone is going to look really good at magic hour, right?
Yes.
That's why movies, they shoot at these kind of things.
But still,
but it looks, it's very well composed. And when you see this one, oh wait, hold on. Let me go back. I want to show you when I got the plant in front of it, because I thought that was really cool. Because this right here. So if you look at the plant in front of it, I mean, you can't really tell here on this screen, but the plant is just so clear.
Yeah.
Compared, it's got that pixel quality, again, that I think the iPhone has lacked in the past, and I think we're really seeing a better detail on these photos.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that looks really nice. I mean, I love the kind of ribbon of orange in the sky. Like there's a good amount of color detail in there.
Sounds like your next album.
Ribbon of
orange in the sky. Selfies,
Yeah, it looks like Rich.
It looks like, I don't know. I think the selfies on the iPhone are still not as good as some other cameras. I think they're good for focus, like they're in focus quickly. Whereas I will say, compared to the Note 9, I have almost not been able to take a good selfie on that camera.
Like you have to do a second picture in order to get it right?
Every time.
Oh, really?
Like I'm talking blurry, 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 blurry.
Well, there's something to be said for that. I mean, if a phone can give you almost as good of a selfie picture and you're guaranteed to get the shot the first time, there's a lot of value, actually.
I think that's huge.
For a lot of people.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And just flipping through some of these other, of course, this one. So in sort of a nighttime shot where you've got, a lot of detail. This is a lot brighter than previous iPhones. Some of the contrast there, like you can see the light. It's like nicely. It's just, I think that people are going to be very happy with the photos from this. I think that the Smart HDR clearly is marketing, and they've talked it up, but they are doing something different here than before.
Right.
This was a good little picture too.
Oh, you ate it? What a chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the largest burrito I've ever had in my life. And I did not finish it. No way. I mean, that thing it must have been 10 pounds.
Yeah, they've got good burritos there. So, I mean, I realize you just got this.
Yes.
So you've just taken a handful of pictures. I mean, from a usability standpoint, it's got that Bionic chip in there. What is it, the A12 Bionic chip? So that's going to make everything a whole lot smoother, a whole lot faster. Do you detect that in your short amount of time using it?
I mean, it's snappy, but here's the thing. The iPhone 10 was not snappy.
Right, yeah, right.
And I think that iOS 12 has made things better on a lot of the older devices. Like even on the iPhone 10, there was a portion when it kind of took a dip and then it went back up. And I think that they did a good job with iOS 12. So it is fast. And when you think about what Apple's doing, they're building everything sort of custom from start to finish. And that, I think, is the magic part of the device compared to some of the other phones. Like even like the Note 9, you've got the latest Qualcomm 845 in there, but when you render a video on this or trim a video that you've taken, like a 4K video, like I can sit here, shoot a video, and if I want to trim the beginning, you know, the first 3 seconds, the end, you try doing that on an Android phone, it is not a smooth process.
No, and it's also not, and it's also usually not built in.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And Apple has a good kind of history with kind of their software that they bake in, that they make themselves, being high enough quality that, you know, it's actually very usable.
Right, and it's also from start to finish what they've thought of. They're like, okay, well, here's what we want you to be able to do on this thing.
Right.
And we're going to make our software and hardware work together to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas with, you know, Samsung, they just get the off-the-shelf chip and they have to kind of build everything into that. So when it comes to things like speech recognition, like the, you know, the hey, you know what, that's going to work better on this. To me, it always works better than it does on my Android devices. Because like I was playing music today and trying to do the Google thing, and it like wouldn't hear me over the music, which I think is kind of odd.
Oh,
you know? So it's like little things like that that I think separate the iPhone. Are people going to be happy with this device? Sure. Yep. I mean, it's a new iPhone. I think the bigger size is really nice for a lot of people when they want, you know, when you're watching movies, when you're taking pictures, when you're creating content on here, the screen really brings it. It's funny because when you see this, you almost think like you've seen it before. But even though this has never been done with the plus size phone, it almost looks so familiar that you forget that there used to be, you know, stuff here and there. Like you, oh, hold on. We got some personal text coming through here. But you know what I mean? You almost forget because it's such a recognizable form factor that you forget that the screen used to not take up the entire front.
Yeah. So it does look really nice, I got to say, on that device.
Are you going to be all about iOS soon?
Probably not. I mean, you know, the last couple of years, Megan and I have had in January usually, after Megan gets enough time with her new iPhone and I get enough time with my new Pixel, we end up doing a switch of some sort.
Yes.
I imagine we'll probably do that again because we've done it the last couple of years, but that's about as close to an all about iOS I get. Which I will say has been super educational, right? Like prior to that, I hadn't had much experience with iOS at all. Yeah, we talk about it on the network all the time, obviously, because Apple is such a behemoth in this category. So it's been very educational, and I give Apple full props. Like their devices are really well designed.
But I will say one thing that I notice about, you know, when I go from Android to iOS and back and forth, the one thing that Apple does really well is push you towards Apple.
Yeah.
No matter what, in a million different ways, right? Yeah. So like the other day, I was so excited that you can now have Google Maps with iOS 12 with CarPlay, right?
Yep.
So I went and I deleted the Apple Maps program off my phone because I was like, I don't need this anymore. Well, then I went to Siri and I asked for directions somewhere, or actually to call a business. And Siri was like, I kid you not, she's like, I'm sorry, but I need Maps to do that. To call a business, you can't just look it up. She needs Maps. Then I did the same command on my phone. Hey, can you call this business? Sure, she called it. Because in the car, they know, we want you to use Apple Maps.
Right.
And so it's like little ways like that Apple kind of sticks it to you and says, you know, like, we're gonna let Google Maps be on here.
Yeah.
We're not gonna make it very pretty.
Yeah. So this is the most expensive iPhone that you can get, right?
This is, as of today.
Is it, well, I mean, you just got it, but I mean, do you think it's worth it? I mean, are people going to buy it in droves? Probably yes, because it's
such a tough question. I think that, is it worth $1,500? Now, this obviously is the highest one. So when you're talking, is it worth $1,100? When you think about it that way, number one, most people are not buying it straight out. You know what I mean? They're not plunking down $1,100 plus tax in California. That'd be another $100, right?
Right.
So $1,200 for that device. Plus, by the way, Apple Care. Plus a case.
Yep.
And maybe an accessory if you walk out of there. So you're talking, $1,300.
Yeah.
It is a device you use every single day.
Yep.
And it is replacing other things. It's replacing your phone, your rotary phone.
Oh, that one. Yes. I really need to replace that.
It's replacing your camera. A lot of people, if you're buying this device, you're probably not carrying around an iPad as well. It's replacing that, replacing a video camera. So when you think about all these little things that it does add up, it is replacing a lot of things that we used to pay money for. In some cases, people are going with just a phone and not even carrying around a computer.
Right.
Now, for me personally, like I'm creating content, like, as a reporter, I'm doing all kinds of blog posts and this and that. But if you're the average person that's going to work and you're not creating content on a daily basis, you might not need a computer to surf the web or to edit video on Final Cut.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So I could see how you could get away with just a phone.
Yeah.
And if you're replacing your computer, you're replacing your tablet, replacing your camera, video camera, even podcasting equipment, you add a microphone to this or two, which I do all the time.
There's a lot of extensibility.
I do my podcast right from this. I plug in 2 mics and that's it.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, well then from that perspective, you're getting full value out of it. So you just got it, are you gonna do a full review anywhere that people can kind of tune in to or
yeah,
check
I'll probably do a full review for KTLA,
Okay.
you know, richontech.tv, my website. But it's one of these things where I always struggle with it because it's so tough to explain what's new because it's kind of like, it's the same, but it's better.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, and what are you really reviewing when it comes to this device? I mean, it's like, deciding against not getting this or getting this compared to an Android.
Right.
It's kind of tough because most people just go out and they buy a new iPhone when their old iPhone expires in some way.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So, which I think Apple's been really smart with. And that's why they don't necessarily do the specs route, which is Android is all specs.
Absolutely.
Apple is more like, this is better, here's why it's better, because the camera's better, the battery lasts longer. Boom. And you go, well, my battery doesn't last that long, so I'd like to have more battery
anymore, because I've had it a year and a half, and everything slows down at a year and a half, right? Or at least it does on Android.
I was going to say, you
know about
might be
iOS.
talking from the Android perspective right there. Because
I think I am, actually.
On iOS, I am very impressed with how long, the longevity of the devices is pretty good.
Great. Then, and to that end, spending $1,000 on a phone that you know is going to last you X amount of time, great.
And not to mention, there's little things that could go wrong along the way, but you know you can go to an Apple store and get that support.
Yeah,
there's a lot of, and I always say this too, is when you have an iPhone, you can ask someone for help, right?
Yeah.
If I take, you take your OnePlus phone, you're like, hey, how do I change the night shift mode on here? Someone will be like, what is that phone, you know? You take your iPhone, you say, how do I, do this? Someone in the room will know how to do that.
Yeah.
Which there's something to be said for that too.
Absolutely.